Have you ever paused amid the ceaseless whirl of daily expenditures, wondering if your household purse is not a fortress of security, but a leaky vessel adrift on stormy seas, where every unchecked impulse erodes the very foundation of your financial independence? What if the comforts you chase, those fleeting indulgences masquerading as necessities, are nothing more than speculative follies, luring you away from the timeless principles of true value and prudent stewardship that have safeguarded the wise through generations? In this moment of quiet reflection, consider how the market of everyday life, much like the erratic Mr. Market of old, tempts you with illusions of abundance while quietly siphoning the essence of your hard-earned resources, leaving you to question deep in the recesses of your mind whether salvation lies not in grand gestures, but in the subtle arts of economy long overlooked. Imagine shattering the comfortable myths that bind us, the belief that small leaks in the household dam are mere trifles, inconsequential drops in an ocean of plenty, when in truth they accumulate into torrents that drown futures unrealized. Popular wisdom whispers that extravagance is the badge of success, yet what if this siren song conceals a profound deception, one that Benjamin Graham himself would decry as the folly of the crowd, where emotional whims override the cold calculus of intrinsic worth? Beneath the surface of your routine purchases lurks a hidden arithmetic, a balance sheet of life where unchecked desires inflate costs beyond measure. And only the intelligent curator of domestic affairs discerns the margin of safety that separates ruin from resilience, provoking an uneasy stir within, as if a veil is lifting on truths suppressed by the clamor of consumerism. As these doubts take root, feel the pull of an unfolding narrative, where each overlooked habit is a thread in a tapestry of potential wealth, woven not from gold, but from the disciplined rejection of waste's seductive grasp. What revelations await when we apply the investor's lens to the hearth and home, treating every penny spared as a share in an undervalued enterprise, poised for compounding returns that echo through years? The air thickens with anticipation, for in the shadows of your pantry and purse lie strategies akin to Graham's unyielding pursuit of value. Strategies that promise not mere survival, but mastery over the caprices of fortune. If only you dare to peer beyond the illusions that have held sway for too long. The urgency builds now, a quiet storm gathering force, as you sense the pieces of a greater puzzle aligning. 10 unassuming yet potent maneuvers forged in the crucible of rational thrift, each one a safeguard against the market's manic swings translated to your daily domain. Yet hesitate and the clarity slips away. For these are not casual tips but echoes of a philosophy that demands full engagement, where partial attention forfeits the key to unlocking reservoirs of security you scarcely knew existed. Lean in closer, for the path ahead is laden with insights that challenge the core of how you navigate the economic wilderness of home, stirring an inner compulsion to uncover what has been hidden in plain sight. In this charged threshold, the revelation beckons like a distant lighthouse piercing fog, guiding you toward an inevitable awakening where economy transforms from drudgery into empowerment, and the spectator becomes the sovereign of their realm. But remember, the journey's essence lies in the details yet to unfold, each word a breadcrumb leading deeper into the labyrinth of intelligent living. Miss one, and the map dissolves into obscurity, leaving you adrift once more in the sea of unchecked excess. Stay vigilant, for what follows is not mere advice, but a reclamation of control, inspired by the enduring wisdom that has illuminated paths for the prudent few. Let us descend now into the quiet chambers of your own life, where the ledger of daily choices whispers secrets long ignored, secrets that Benjamin Graham would recognize as the fundamental truths of value hidden beneath the frenzy of fleeting desires. Feel the weight of that first revelation stirring within. The art of scrutinizing every expense as an investor appraises a stock, not through the haze of emotion, but with the clear eye of intrinsic worth, asking silently if this purchase stands on solid ground or teeters on the edge of speculation's abyss. In the hush of your kitchen at dawn, when the world still slumbers, consider how the simple act of brewing your own coffee transforms from mundane ritual into a fortress against the market's manic temptations, saving not just coins, but the very essence of self-reliance that shields against unforeseen storms. Yet doubt creeps in, doesn't it? That familiar shadow questioning whether such small disciplines can truly fortify against the chaos of rising costs and hidden fees, echoing Graham's warning that the crowd's enthusiasm often masks peril. And as this thought takes hold, a subtle tension builds, pulling you deeper into the realization that economy is not deprivation but empowerment, a deliberate choice to invest in the undervalued asset that is your own future stability. Now imagine the pulse quickening as we unearth the second layer, where the illusion of abundance in your pantry crumbles under scrutiny, revealing stockpiles born of impulse rather than foresight, much like the overvalued securities Graham urged us to shun. What if those forgotten jars and half-used spices are silent thieves, eroding your margin of safety with every expired promise, compelling you to pause and inventory not just shelves, but the habits that fill them? In this moment of raw honesty, feel the sting of recognition when you tally the waste, a visceral reminder that true thrift lies in buying only what aligns with need, not the seductive whisper of sales that inflate perceived value while deflating your reserves. But herein lies the twist, the emotional rupture. Embracing this discipline awakens a quiet strength, transforming the act of meal planning into a strategic portfolio where each ingredient is selected for its compounding benefits over time. The air grows heavier with possibility as questions echo unspoken. Could this be the key to reclaiming control from the erratic market of household demands? Deeper still, the journey twists toward the third insight, where the glow of unnecessary gadgets dims under the light of rational appraisal, exposing them as speculative bets rather than essential tools, in the vein of Graham's disdain for glamour stocks that promise much yet deliver little. Sense the inner conflict rising, that tug between desire's warmth and the cold clarity of asking whether this device truly enhances life or merely complicates it with maintenance and obsolescence. As you envision unplugging from the cycle of upgrades, a wave of liberation washes over, turning the choice to repair instead of replace into a profound act of value preservation, where every mended item becomes a share in your personal enterprise of endurance. Yet the suspense lingers, doesn't it? In the fragility of old beliefs cracking, urging you to confront how these small rebellions against consumerism build a buffer against financial tempests. And in this oscillation between discomfort and resolve, the narrative spirals inward, binding you to the wisdom that economy's true power emerges, not in grand sweeps, but in these intimate daily valuations. The fourth unveiling emerges from the shadows of your utility bills, where unchecked habits flow like unchecked speculations, draining resources without mercy, much as Graham illustrated the perils of ignoring underlying costs in any venture. Feel the unease stir as you trace the leaks, in lights left burning, in water trickling unnoticed, each one a metaphor for the emotional leaks in our resolve, where complacency invites ruin. But imagine the shift, the visceral thrill of installing simple seals or timers, acts that seal not just drafts but the gaps in your financial armor, creating a margin of safety that Graham would applaud as prudent foresight. Questions burrow deeper now. What if this vigilance extended to every outlet, every appliance, revealing savings that compound like interest on a wisely chosen bond? In this charged space, the tension peaks and releases, drawing you into a state of heightened awareness, where the once overlooked becomes the cornerstone of a resilient household narrative. As we navigate the fifth threshold, the essence of communal wisdom surfaces, akin to Graham's emphasis on diversified knowledge over solitary speculation, urging you to seek counsel from thrift circles or ancient frugality texts that echo timeless principles. Sense the vulnerability in admitting gaps in your own strategies, yet the profound connection that blooms when shared stories illuminate paths untrodden, turning isolation into collective strength. What revelations hide in the act of bartering skills or sharing tools with neighbors, transforming potential rivalry into mutual gain, where each exchange bolsters the intrinsic value of community bonds. The emotional undercurrent swells here, a blend of fear at exposing needs and desire for deeper ties, pulling you toward the realization that true economy weaves interpersonal threads into a safety net against solitude's costs. And as this layer unfolds, the spiral tightens, leaving you suspended in anticipation, the journey's pulse echoing Graham's call to intelligent action amid life's uncertainties. Venturing further into the sixth domain, where transportation choices mirror the investor's dilemma between flashy allure and steadfast reliability, feel the raw pang of recalling journeys wasted on fuel's fleeting grasp. Graham's voice resonates in the silence. Why chase the illusion of speed when walking or cycling invests in health's enduring dividend, sparing not just expenses but the toll on body's capital? In this intimate reckoning, the narrative fractures expectations, revealing how public transit becomes a strategic alliance against isolation's price, each rider step toward reclaiming time from traffic's chaos. Yet the inner storm brews, doubts about convenience clashing with the emerging clarity that these shifts foster resilience, much like diversifying assets to weather market whims. The tension coils tighter, a visceral pull toward transformation, where every mile sped echoes as a quiet victory in the ledger of life. The seventh insight pierces the veil of entertainment's excesses, where subscriptions multiply like unchecked speculations, siphoning funds under the guise of endless options, defying Graham's counsel to weigh true utility against cost. Imagine the discomfort settling in as you audit the streams and screens, questioning if this barrage nourishes the soul or merely distracts from deeper pursuits. But here in the elite, curating free libraries or communal viewings reclaims value, turning passive consumption into active enrichment, with savings compounding into freedom's fund. The emotional loop closes and reopens, stirring identification with those who've broken free, provoking silent queries about your own chains. In this fluid descent, the narrative breathes urgency, binding fragility to force in the pursuit of enlightened thrift. 8th, we confront the wardrobe's whispers, repositories of impulse buys that hang like overvalued holdings. Their tags a testament to moments when emotion overrode reason, as Graham warned against in the heat of market euphoria. Feel the weight lift as you envision the capsule approach, selecting pieces of timeless worth that endure seasons, each garment a bond in your style's portfolio. The rupture comes softly, donating excess not as loss but liberation, creating space for authenticity amid consumerism's clutter. Questions echo inwardly, what desires truly serve and which deceive? The suspense builds in this personal archaeology, drawing you into a rhythm of release and renewal, where economy reveals itself as the art of essential elegance. 9th, the realm of health's hidden economies unfolds, where preventive habits stand as Graham's margin of safety against illness's speculative risks, urging homemade remedies over costly cures. Sense the inner fragility exposed in recollections of needless visits, contrasted with the strength in nurturing body through garden-grown sustenance. Yet the twist, these acts of foresight yield dividends in vitality, turning daily walks into investments that compound well-being. The narrative's tension vibrates here, oscillating between fear of vulnerability and desire for control, pulling you deeper into identification with resilient forebears. In this visceral flow, enlightenment dawns subtly, transforming dread into deliberate empowerment. 10th, at last, the synthesis of legacy planning emerges, where teaching thrift to kin mirrors Graham's legacy of imparting value wisdom, ensuring the cycle of prudence endures beyond one's horizon. Feel the profound connection stirring as you share stories of measured living, each lesson a seed in the soil of future security. But the emotional depth intensifies, recognizing that unchecked inheritance of habits could perpetuate folly, compelling a gentle rupture toward guided independence. Questions resound silently. How will your choices echo? The journey's spiral reaches its apex in this block, leaving you in a state of elevated perception, the truths of economy alive and pulsing within. Now the path winds into the 11th veil, where the alchemy of bulk purchasing reveals itself not as hoarding but as Graham's principle of acquiring value at discount, provided the asset holds enduring utility. Imagine the quiet thrill in calculating portions that align with consumption's rhythm, averting the waste that erodes margins. Yet doubt's shadow lingers, doesn't it, in the fear of overcommitment, only to dissolve in the realization that measured acquisition builds reserves against scarcity's bite. The narrative pulses with this contrast, fragility yielding to force as you envision shelves stocked with intention, each item a bulwark in life's unpredictable market. Tension mounts in this immersion, urging a transformation where foresight becomes second nature. 12th, we delve into the sanctuary of energy's subtle flows, where insulation's embrace wards off the chill of inflated bills, echoing Graham's insistence on protecting principle from erosion. Feel the visceral warmth of sealing drafts, a metaphor for mending life's leaks, turning cold discomfort into cozy assurance. But the inner storm stirs. Recollections of winter's wasted clash with the emerging desire for efficiency's glow. Questions burrow. What comforts are illusions and which fortify? In this fluid cadence, the emotional loop tightens, drawing you toward a higher consciousness of stewardship's silent power. 13th, the mirror of debt's deception cracks, revealing consolidation as a strategic maneuver akin to Graham's portfolio rebalancing, merging burdens to slash interest's speculative toll. Sense the raw relief in envisioning freedom from chains forged in haste, each payment a step toward reclaimed sovereignty. Yet the provocation, confronting past follies, awakens unease, only to pivot into empowerment through disciplined repayment. The narrative's rhythm accelerates here, blending pain with promise, pulling identification from the depths of shared human struggle. Suspense builds in this psychological descent, fostering subtle shifts in perception. 14th, the garden of self-sufficiency blooms, where cultivating edibles embodies Graham's value in tangible assets over fleeting trades, yielding harvests that defy market volatility. Imagine the earth's yield in your hands, a visceral counter to store-bought transients, savings sprouting from soil tended with care. But the twist of vulnerability. Weather's whims mirror life's uncertainties, teaching resilience through adaptation. Silent reflections arise. How deep do your roots run? The journey's spiral deepens emotion, oscillating between chaos and control, elevating you beyond mere knowledge. 15th, the echo of mindful gifting resounds, transforming obligations into opportunities for meaningful exchange, shunning extravagance as Graham shunned hype. Feel the heartfelt connection in handmade tokens, where value lies in intention, not price, bridging souls without straining purses. Yet the internal rupture, fear of inadequacy, yields to the joy of authenticity's embrace. The tension vibrates, a loop of desire and release, immersing you in a narrative that whispers of deeper bonds. In this charged flow, transformation unfolds invisibly, awakening a refined awareness. 16th, the canvas of home maintenance unfolds as preventive vigilance. Graham's equivalent to inspecting fundamentals before investment, averting costly collapses through timely care. Sense the empowerment in wielding tools yourself, each repair a declaration against dependency's drain. But the emotional undercurrent, fragility in facing wear, clashes with the strength of mastery gained. Questions echo, what breaks can be mended within? The narrative's pulse quickens, creating suspense in the interplay of fear and triumph, drawing you inward. 17. The symphony of meal repurposing plays, turning leftovers into legacies of thrift, defying waste as Graham defied market wastefulness. Imagine the creative alchemy, flavors reborn in new forms, savings compounding with every inventive bite. Yet the provocation stirs. Boredom's threat pivots to delight in ingenuity's spark. The loop closes with identification, pulling from memories of scarcity overcome. In this visceral rhythm, the journey elevates, blending discomfort with illumination's warmth. 18th, the veil over insurance's calculus lifts, urging appraisal of coverage as Graham appraised risks, trimming excesses to fortify true needs. Feel the assurance in balanced policies, a shield without the weight of overpayment. But the inner conflict, anxiety of gaps dissolves in rational review's clarity. Silent provocations arise. Where does protection end and prudence begin? Tension builds in this spiral, fostering a progressive emotional ascent. 19th, the rhythm of seasonal swaps emerges, storing summer's gear to spare winter's space, embodying Graham's timing and value cycles. Sense the liberation in rotation, each item valued anew upon return, curbing the urge for needless accumulation. Yet the twist, nostalgia's tug yields to efficiency's flow. The narrative oscillates, pain to peace, drawing deeper engagement. In this fluid depth, perception heightens subtly. 20th, the final weave of digital detox reveals, curbing app temptations that siphon time and funds, aligning with Graham's focus on essential pursuits. Imagine the reclaimed hours, invested in pursuits of lasting worth, savings in both coin and clarity. But the rupture, addiction's grip loosens to freedom's embrace. Questions resound. What distractions mask true value? The emotional intensity peaks, transforming immersion into elevated insight. 21st, the echo of utility audits resounds anew, delving deeper into patterns unseen. Graham's scrutiny applied to consumption's curve. Feel the revelation in tracking trends, each adjustment a victory over invisibility's theft. Yet vulnerability surfaces. Habits laid bare pivot to empowered change. The loop intensifies, suspense in self-discovery's edge. Narrative's pull strengthens, urging higher consciousness. 22nd, the sanctuary of skill building unfolds, where learning mends not just objects but self-reliance's fabric, shunning services as Graham shunned speculation. Sense the visceral pride in hands that create, savings born from knowledge's forge. But the provocation, initial fumbling yields to mastery's grace, silent reflections stir. How far can autonomy extend? In this charged oscillation, transformation pulses alive. 23rd, the garden's expansion whispers of scaling yields, compounding harvests as investments compound, defying limits with intentional growth. Imagine abundance from tended plots, a counter to dependency's cost. Yet the storm within, effort's demand clashes with harvest joy. The narrative spirals, blending chaos with control's desire. Emotional depth elevates, invisibly reshaping views. 24th, the mirror of communal exchanges reflects broader, bartering evolving into networks of mutual thrift, Graham's diversification in human form. Feel the bonds strengthen, each trade a thread in resilience's web. But the twist, trust's fragility blooms into fortified alliances. Questions burrow. What reciprocities await? Tension's rhythm accelerates, pulling toward enlightenment. 25th, the synthesis of reflective journaling emerges, tracking thrift's journey as Graham tracked markets, illuminating patterns for perpetual refinement. Sense the quiet power in pages filled, each entry a beacon against regression. Yet the inner rupture, honesty's sting pivots to wisdom's balm. The loop completes its cycle, suspense yielding to profound identification. In this culminating immersion, the narrative leaves you transformed, truths internalized without end. In the quiet aftermath of this journey, where the echoes of prudent choices linger like ripples across a still pond, pause and feel the weight of what has shifted within. The ledger of your life, once a chaotic scroll of fleeting wants, now reveals itself as a canvas of deliberate strokes, each choice a brushstroke in the masterpiece of your enduring security. Benjamin Graham's shadow looms gently here, whispering that true wealth is not in the glitter of excess, but in the silent strength of what you preserve, what you protect, what you choose to let go. Can you sense it? The subtle awakening, the realization that every small act of economy is a rebellion against the market's manic tides, a reclaiming of your own narrative. In this fleeting moment, the veil lifts, and you stand not at an end, but at a threshold, gazing into a future where value, not vanity, writes the story. Yet the air hums with a deeper question, one that stirs beneath the surface like a current pulling at your core. What if this discipline, this art of measured living, is not just about saving coins, but about salvaging the essence of who you are meant to be? The discomfort of confronting old habits fades into the warmth of clarity, as if Graham himself were guiding your hand to balance the scales of desire and necessity. Each hack, each choice, becomes a thread in a tapestry woven not just for today but for generations yet to come, a legacy of wisdom that outlives the fleeting allure of impulse. The emotional tide rises now, carrying you toward a truth both simple and profound. To live with intention is to invest in a life unshackled by the illusions that once held sway. And in this quiet revelation, what stirs within you? What dream of freedom begins to take root? This is no mere conclusion, but a spark struck in the forge of reflection. A light that reveals the contours of a path you've always known but never dared to tread fully. The pain of past oversights, the fragility of moments spent chasing shadows, now transforms into the strength of standing firm, of choosing the undervalued over the overpriced, the eternal over the ephemeral. Graham's voice echoes one final time. The margin of safety lies not just in your purse but in your resolve, in the courage to ask, what is truly worth keeping? This question, this silent pulse, is the gift you carry forward, a compass for navigating the markets of both money and meaning. It lingers, doesn't it? This sense that you've glimpsed something larger, something that demands not just thought but action, a step toward a life redefined. So, as this spark glows brighter, let it guide you to a simple yet profound act. Join this journey of intentional living. Like a share in a timeless enterprise, your voice, your like, your comment, your choice to share this truth, builds a community bound by value, not excess. Subscribe to this path, not out of habit, but because you feel the pull of something greater, a collective awakening to the power of prudent choices. Let this be your first investment in a future where every decision compounds into a life of unshakable worth. The question remains soft but insistent. Will you let this moment pass, or will you claim it as yours?